For years, NBA front offices have been chasing the same type of player, not just a great scorer, not just an elite athlete. The most valuable player archetype in basketball today is the oversized creator, a wing between 6'7" and 6'10", who can generate offense at all three levels, initiate possessions, create advantages for teammates, defend multiple positions, and impact the game without needing a specific system built around them. The NBA has slowly moved away from traditional positional basketball. The best offenses are no longer built around one small guard, creating every advantage, or one dominant big, controlling every possession. Instead, teams are searching for players who combine the responsibilities of multiple positions. That is why players like LeBron James, Luka Doncic, and Jason Tatum and other oversized creators have become the blueprint for how teams build around franchise players. And that is why AJ Dybantsa has become one of the most fascinating prospects in basketball. At 6'9" with a 6'11" wingspan and an 8'10" stand reach, Dybantsa already has the physical profile NBA teams prioritize. But his appeal is not simply about measurements. The reason scouts are so intrigued is because his skill set matches the direction the league is moving. He's not a forward who only finishes plays. He's a forward who creates them. Dybantsa's game is built around fluid shot creation, advanced footwork, pace manipulation, and the ability to transition between scorer, facilitator, and offensive initiator, depending on what the defense gives him. The comparison to Tracy McGrady appears naturally because of the way he moves. Not because Dybantsa is expected to become McGrady, but because the movement profile is familiar. There are possessions where he looks like the quickest player on the floor while standing nearly 6'10". The foundation of Dybantsa's offensive game starts with one of the most valuable skills in modern basketball, creating pressure at the rim. Dybantsa drives on approximately 24% of his total possessions. The number itself is impressive, but the context is what makes it stand out. He's not generating that level of downhill pressure as a traditional point guard, whose entire offensive role revolves around ball handling and attacking off the dribble. In fact, his driving frequency is higher than smaller perimeter creators who are typically expected to be primary attackers. Players like Darius Acuff Jr. and Kingston Flemings, but Dybantsa is producing an even greater level of rim pressure from a completely different physical profile. That difference changes how defenses have to respond. A smaller guard being the first defender creates a problem. A 6'9" forward being the first defender creates a chain reaction. If a big defender steps up, Dybantsa can use his length, strength, and touch to finish over the top. If a smaller defender stays attached, he has a size advantage to absorb contact and create separation. But the important part is that his rim pressure is not dependent purely on athleticism. Many young wings attack with straight line speed. Dybantsa creates advantages through sequencing. He changes speeds. He uses hesitation moves. He manipulates defenders into shifting their weight before exploding into space. That ability to control pace is one of the biggest separators between a player who can score and a player who can eventually control an offense. The next question for any elite prospect is whether they can create offense when transition opportunities disappear. That is where Dybantsa's skill set becomes even more interesting. He's not simply benefiting from athletic advantages or broken defensive possessions. He has already shown the ability to score using step backs, control pull-ups, spin counters, and fadeaways off either pivot foot. The important distinction is that these are not random difficult shots. They are counters. When defenders overplay his drive, he has the ability to stop, create separation, and punish them from the mid-range. When defenders give him space, he has shown enough shooting confidence to make them pay. And when the competition increases, his production has continued to translate. During the Big 12 tournament, Dybantsa scored 40 points on 15 of 21 shooting, breaking the freshman scoring record previously held by Kevin Durant in tournament history. Across that tournament, he totaled 93 points, showing that his unique scoring ability was not simply the result of high usage or weaker competition. The biggest reason AJ Dybantsa's ceiling extends beyond an elite scorer is because he does not approach the game like a player who's only looking for his own shot. The next evolution for modern NBA stars is not simply being able to score, it is being able to create advantages for everyone else on the floor. He's not a traditional point guard, and projecting him as one would be unfair, but he already shows the processing ability teams look for in oversized creators, players who can handle offensive responsibility without the game slowing down around them. Across EYBL competition, Dybantsa averaged 4 assists compared to 1 turnover per game. In international competition, including FIBA events, he maintained similar playmaking production despite facing different defensive schemes and increased attention. The important part is not just the assist numbers. It is how he creates those opportunities. When defenses collapse toward him on drives, Dybantsa is capable of recognizing weak side rotations and delivering passes to open shooters. He can make live dribble reads, hit cutters attacking space, and use his size to see passing windows that smaller players may not have access to. That is the difference between a player who finishes possessions and a player who can eventually organize them. The biggest developmental question surrounding Dybantsa is perimeter shooting. For every oversized creator entering the NBA, the same question eventually determines how defenses treat them. Can opponents leave them open? If the answer is no, the entire floor opens up. Right now, Dybantsa's shooting profile is promising, but still developing. He's shown the ability to knock down catch-and-shoot opportunities, including shooting around 37% on catch-and-shoot threes in transition situations. More importantly, his mechanics, confidence, and willingness to attempt difficult shots suggest a player who is comfortable operating behind the arc. But becoming a consistent NBA shooter is different than showing flashes, because the difference between a good scorer and an unstoppable offensive player is often whether defenders can go under screens, sag off drives, or force the player into inefficient attempts. If Dybantsa develops into a reliable three-point shooter, it changes everything. A defender can no longer give him space. A big cannot simply sit in the paint. Help defenders cannot load up early. The shooting does not have to become his greatest strength. It just has to become respected. The reason NBA teams value oversized wings so highly is because offensive versatility alone is not enough. The best players in the league impact both sides of the floor. Defensively, Dybantsa already shows many of the traits teams search for in modern forwards. He plays with activity away from the ball, rotates as a help defender, uses his length to disrupt passing lanes, and has the mobility to defend multiple positions. His early defensive activity metrics compare favorably with the type of indicators seen from successful NBA wings such as Jaylen Brown, Jalen Williams, and Paolo Banchero during their developmental stages. Those comparisons are not predictions of what Dybantsa will become, but they highlight an important point. His defensive impact is already showing measurable signs that align with the type of versatile wings teams value. At 6'9" with his mobility, Dybantsa has the physical tools to defend wings, switch on to guards in certain situations, and provide help side rim protection. That defensive flexibility is what allows players like him to stay on the floor in playoff environments. The reason Dybantsa is such an intriguing prospect is because his strengths are already obvious, but becoming a franchise-level NBA player requires improving the areas that separate great prospects from great professionals. The biggest developmental area is ball security. Against disciplined defenses like Houston, Iowa State, and Arizona, opponents have been able to pressure his handle and force turnovers, particularly when he attacks from the perimeter. Shot selection is another area to monitor. Because Dybantsa already has the confidence and skill to make difficult shots, there are moments where he settles for contested jumpers instead of consistently using his physical advantages. The challenge for young stars is learning when difficult shots are necessary and when they are simply avoidable. At the NBA level, those weaknesses become magnified. Defenders are stronger, rotations happen faster, and passing windows disappear quicker. When evaluating Dybantsa, the most exciting part is not one individual skill. He is a 6'9" forward who creates rim pressure at an unusually high level, generates offense from the perimeter, creates opportunities for teammates, and has defensive tools to impact the game on both ends. That combination is exactly what NBA teams are searching for. The question is not whether Dybantsa has NBA talent. The bigger question is how much responsibility he can eventually handle. Can he become a primary offensive engine? Can he become the player defenses build entire game plans around? Can he become the type of Wayne who controls playoff games on both ends of the floor? That is why his evaluation is so fascinating. The NBA is increasingly dominated by players who remove traditional limitations, players who are too big for guards, too skilled for forwards, and too versatile for defenses to solve with a single strategy. Dybantsa fits that mold. The shooting still needs to develop, the handle still needs refinement, the decision making still needs time, but the foundation is already there. And if those remaining pieces continue to progress, Dybantsa is not simply projecting as a high-level NBA player. He is projecting as the exact type of player every franchise is trying to find, a modern superstar built for the way basketball is played today.